We work in sales, marketing, also do some stuff in operations, finance, and HR. Today, we're talking sales and marketing. So we're going to jump in right away with a quick survey, and you should see a poll pop up.
Yeah, so yep, there we go.
So we figured we'd get an idea of where you guys are at in your businesses, and this will allow us to kind of get a flavor and a feel, and then we'll tailor the presentation accordingly. So we'll give it a minute or two. Just covering off the agenda while you guys figure that out. Figure that out. It shouldn't be too hard. We're going to talk today about three major areas. There are several keys when you're talking sales and marketing, but we believe these three to be very important to everything that's going on, starting with lead generation, database management, and content and messaging. Presentation today is 45 minutes. We'll allow 15 minutes for Q&A beyond our presentation if everything goes as planned. But we are, like Diane said, going to be very informal. We'll have a discussion. Feel free to pause or stop us, and Diane's going to do the same. You can add any chat or notes at the bottom. And as Diane mentioned, the session is going to be recorded.
So Diane, little technicality. I'm not a host on this, so you would have to, once we get a reasonable number of responses, end the survey and present.
Okay, I just made you a co-host, AJ,
Awesome.
but we're up to 19 out of 24, so you can decide
Perfect.
when you want to shut that down.
Yep, and I was one of them, so.
Cool.
All right, that sounds good. Let me end the polling, and I'll just share the results real quick. So how often have you generated new business through online marketing? Most are occasionally. I got a few who do frequently, but it's okay. How often are you connecting with your list of current and past customers? Monthly or weekly? That's 75%. How proficient are you with database marketing and analytics? We have one who's an expert, but then most are either some experience or novice. How proficient are you with the use of your CRM system? Again, we have some experience. Is probably the biggest. We have a few experts in there, but looks like most people are moderately comfortable with it.
Cool. Well, that helps. Thank you for taking the time to do the poll. That helps us understand where everyone's at, and hopefully helps you guys as well understand who's on the call and what we're doing. So you want to slide to the next slide there, AJ? So a little bit about AJ and myself. I always tell people I'm a recovering vice president of sales and marketing. I worked with large companies across the globe and ran North America and several hundred salespeople and millions of dollars in marketing. Several years ago, I started the marketing and sales with Empirical and have been doing that since, where we work with, like I said, small and mid-sized companies. About half of those are in the manufacturing fields. AJ is going to be with us here today, as you just heard him. AJ has a very similar type background where he spent a lot of time in large Fortune 50, FTSE 100 companies, and he's worked in a variety of positions from sales, sales operations, and marketing. For ECS, he handles our sales operations and also our lead gen. So he's going to be sharing some information on lead gen today and some tools we use. So this is just kind of a funny, but obviously it's true. There's been a lot of talk, especially in manufacturing, about digital transformation and moving over digitally, but just really hasn't pushed and gotten to the next level until recently. And it's been due to the virus. And we've seen digital transformation happening rapidly in the marketing arena and industrials arena because of the virus. Things have changed. And I think in speaking yesterday, I was talking to a couple of private equity firms that we work with on a call, and their belief, and it's ours as well, that the world does not go back to where it was pre-COVID once the vaccine comes out and everything's there. There's just been a lot of changes, and people have now built in some efficiencies from, and you guys might see this as well, from not having to get in the car to drive places to we see plant tours being done over FaceTime and iPads and other devices where people are walking through, and I'm sure you guys do much of the same, walking through plants and doing tours and showing facilities via digital products now. So it's been very cool to see. So the challenges really are these three that we see in the business place right now. Customer connections are obviously disrupted. And again, marketing had a lot of face-to-face events, a lot of user groups, trade shows. That equated to anywhere from 30 to 70% of our typical clients' lead flow, all of their new lead flow, and much of their existing customers they did in a similar manner. So that has been gone and challenged now. So that's out of the picture. But people are still buying. We're seeing a huge uptick in people buying, and you guys all probably are seeing the same type of thing. They want to buy, customers still want to buy. And so they're doing a lot of work digitally now. They're going to your website, they're vetting you out. We're seeing RFQs, RFPs, and invites to bid now prior to any engagement of any sort with the company directly. So it's been a fascinating increase in digital trends. And it's not uncommon for many of our clients to see 300, 400, 500% increases in their digital traffic to their websites. Oh, and that, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I got one more page there. Sorry about that, Ajay. I thought I had to kick it over to you. And again, there's 5 areas that we believe are really important to business today: lead gen, website, database marketing, distribution, and content messaging. You'll see the top 3 we're going to cover off today: lead gen, database marketing, and then obviously content messaging. And we're going to jump right into that right away. And Ajay, I'm going to let you take over with lead gen.
All right, thank you, Bill, and thank you, MRC, for this opportunity. So this is no surprise, but over the last 9 months, the world has completely shifted in the world of lead gen. So we were previously generating leads from trade shows, which are hugely important for manufacturers, live events, face-to-face meetings, and many of these have gone away. Now, face-to-face meetings have come back to some extent, but clearly the future, as the numbers go up, remains uncertain as how long those will continue. On the other hand, most of you had websites and did some level of social media and content marketing.
Turn your audio off.
But that just wasn't as relevant to your total business. And so while you had the website, you had to show that you had a website. That wasn't where the business was generated. The one thing that was really important was calling on customers. So if you didn't visit your customers on a regular basis, you would lose your customers. And so often what sales teams did was they had schedules to where they would go and visit customers on a regular basis. And all of you are familiar with that routine. And well, then COVID happened, and this has totally been flipped around. And so we now have a lot fewer live events, and so the onus of marketing really has been on lead gen in a digital world. We do know cold calling works, and we know email marketing works in ways that it didn't before because people are hungry for that connection. Bill made a really good point. Customers are still buying. It's not like they just automatically froze, but how they search and how they find you is now different, and how you target them is also different. So I think the avenues have changed considerably, and this is where the investment in social media and content marketing becomes more relevant. At ECS, we always look at return on investment. Don't put your money in something that isn't going to deliver results. And so what we're going to talk about today is really those, addressing that point. So let me ask you a question now, just for thought, is have the basics of selling changed after COVID? And, the short answer is they have not. Customers still buy from those who they know, like, and trust. This is now the challenge to develop the know, like, and trust factor in an online context. So the first thing I want to talk about is lead generation. And lead generation is your process of bringing in new customers, right? And the first thing about lead generation in 2020 is your approach, right? This is not about being salesy or pushy. You saw companies that tried to do that early on fail spectacularly. It's about the customers. It's about what's in it for me, for the customers. It's really about adding value to the customers. And it's not, they're not gonna buy from you right away by sending an email, but perhaps it's establishing a relationship. Now the relationship have to be established online. So we have an example of a customer who did this well. They had a webinar early on. And they had not done a webinar before, but they did a webinar. They're in the nuclear parts industry. And interestingly, their webinar wasn't on their parts or the benefits they offer, but the webinar was about how to use their online search feature to find their parts. Very specifically targeted towards buyers, making the job of buyers easier. By this one webinar alone, they had a 20% increase in traffic to their site. I believe it was $1 or $2 million of additional business that came out of this one webinar.
Yep.
But see, the approach is different, and that's going to be the big takeaway of what we talk about today. The second thing about lead generation is with tools, and invest smartly in tools. You're going to find bigger and better is not always going to be more advantageous for you. You really have to see what your processes internally are. Assess your company's needs, assess your sales process, find what level of technical complexity your sales teams will buy into, and then get those deals and get those tools. AI and automation has been touted quite a bit, and you'll hear a lot about this from vendors, but our advice is be careful about what you invest in, because having a bunch of disparate systems running around doesn't really get you to success either. There's 3 basic tools that we'll talk about today. And the reason we're not really saying you use one platform versus the other, I mean, at ECS, we're fairly agnostic to platforms. We'd rather you use one. We use these tools and use them well. The first will be a CRM. We'll talk about a marketing platform, and also talk a little bit about marketing outreach or email outreach. So first is the CRM system. And if you're not using a CRM system in 2020, you're already well behind all your competition. But I suspect that most of you, and even the surveys show that most of you do have CRM background, CRM experience, some CRM expertise. So the challenge really is going to be using your CRM effectively, and make sure that the features that are relevant to your business are really being used. So what we have here is a very basic, this is Pipedrive. It could be Pipedrive, it could be Salesforce, it could be Microsoft Dynamic. There's various platforms available, but in Pipedrive here, you can see you can see your sales process. Actually, you can see your sales pipeline, and you can track the deals as they go through the sales pipeline. This is very basic, but you'll be surprised how many times you have CEOs and business leaders who don't have a good handle for what their sales teams are doing and where they need to move deals forward. So this, I think, is a must-have. I especially like the proposal that's made to the Super Friends deal. I don't know how Bill got that in, but this is
with Superman.
Right. Right. Hey, I just show the slides here. And okay, so again, like what you see on the right corner is basic statistics, and it's more about tying in your process, your sales process, with the CRM that you have. And so where we have seen sales teams fail is where there isn't a clear alignment between what's in the CRM and the way sales actually works within the framework of the company. Now, within the CRM system, we're talking about lead generation here, right? And why am I talking about CRM? And really, this is about how you use your CRM system. This is just one example. Actually, the example is where we were waiting for a customer to sign on a contract. And we had proposed to them a statement of work, we'd given them a quote, but we hadn't signed it. And so we're actually using CRM to track the interaction with our marketing material. In this case, happens to be a newsletter. We've also done where it's different sections of the website. But really the point is you can sit around waiting for them to call you, or you can really see how they're engaging with you, because they are engaging with you, and then reach out to them appropriately. So CRM contacts is one that if you're not using your tool in this way, I would strongly urge you to look at that. And most CRM systems have this capability. There's some where there's a lot more automation that's built into this with the emails that are automatically sent out. I'd say use that with some caution, make sure you know what you're doing. But we certainly support having this level in your CRM. So the other point I want to make is you need to have a marketing platform. I think this is another basic that you have. And what I'm showing here is just the importance of segmentation when you go into a marketing platform. And so this happens to be MailChimp. You may be using Pardot. You may be using HubSpot. Really doesn't matter which tool you're using. We use MailChimp. It's actually a relatively inexpensive tool. I think the free feature is actually quite rich to begin with, and then you could always add on to it. But this is a test of us sending out a newsletter, and just to see how different segments engage in a newsletter in very different ways. This happened to be a finance related topic, and you can see obviously the finance people are engaging with it more. So the reason I'm showing this is to just warn you against just throwing out generic information and expect your entire audience to pick it up. It has to be targeted. It has to be targeted to specific groups. Email marketing, and email is a 4-letter word for many people because you're really annoyed by all those annoying, can I have 10 minutes of your time, trying to reach you one more time, all those emails that you get. But guess what? For years, I believe since 2014, 2015, email marketing has been the leading source of leads for companies. It beats content marketing, search, SEO, all that. So there's definitely a lot of benefit from email marketing. The challenge really is to get email marketing right? This is about making sure that you have a clear, that you're going after the right groups of people, you're delivering content that's relevant to them, and some more that we will talk about today, both Bill and I will cover, will actually help you do better at email marketing. So let me start off with kind of one of the toughest parts of email marketing. This is a cold campaign, and this is exactly what I talked about before. These are the unsolicited emails that you receive that you want to hit delete on all the time, and they stop you from getting to the important work that you have to do. Now, this can be done right. And there's a way to do this right. In fact, this is one of our customers. This is an actual example from our customer who we've been helping out. They are a plastics part manufacturer that is looking to grow their market. And they're doing it in a way, they go into a part of the market where they don't have connections through their salespeople currently. And this email, it's actually a sequence of emails, but this campaign delivered, just within the first week of launch, delivered 5 new leads for them, which is tremendous. And it continues to evolve, and they're doing more to target the right people. So let me just break this down real quick so you kind of get a sense for how these email campaigns can be successful. The first thing is the target, right? And the target is a plastics category buyer, named very specifically. Usually these targets are obtained through a database. There's automation involved in the back end. But what this is about addressing a very specific need that buyers have. And before this meeting, we were just talking about manufacturing. What's the top issue for manufacturers today? It's the supply chain, right? And what's the top headache that buyers have today is not getting parts on time or having supply cut off. So this is actually addressing that specific issue. So the timing is obviously very important. And then comes to the subject, which is, there's a lot of psychology to what people click on and such, but we really think it comes down to it being simple and addressing a particular need that they have at a given time. But in this case, this is about getting parts that they haven't received, and really this our client has the capacity, and so they're a U.S.-based client that has the capacity to take on business that was previously sourced through China, and this campaign has been very successful.
And just and Ajay, I'm going to jump in there.
Sure.
Just to add some color. This client in the previous 2 years had only one lead from sales and marketing efforts, one lead, which had not turned into any business. And to pull off 5 leads within a 1 or 2 week period of time, they were thrilled, and they couldn't believe the opportunity. I do believe, part of it is getting the right messaging. And we're also living in a time right now where taking market share or getting market share is very, I won't say easy, but it's an opportunity for everyone here, because people are looking at new suppliers and doing things in a new way. And that's kind of where COVID has brought us. So absolutely tremendous results for this client.
All right. Great point, Bill. And also one thing I'll say is, I wouldn't recommend anyone just copy and paste this and send this to your clients either, because there's a lot of thought that goes into this. This addresses a particular industry, a particular client, their customers, what they know about their customers. So it really comes back to the basic, the intimacy you have with your target customer base, understanding them well, knowing what they're looking for. That's going to make you more successful at these. So kind of the basics of email marketing, and these cannot be stressed enough. I put down 8 points, maybe there's more, but really define that target very clearly. Don't go too broad. Personalization is important. And I think there's a lot of automation today that allows you to personalize emails, where you can find things from their LinkedIn profiles, you can find things from online sources, and it really addresses that client's very particular needs. It's not about being a salesy. It's not about being pushy. It's education, value add. And one of the things I think that often gets missed as we look at email marketing campaigns is the CTA, or call to action. Be very specific for what you want what you want your prospect to do once they once they read your email. And so perhaps it's you've created a landing page for them where they are directed to after that. Perhaps it's setting up a meeting. It could be a variety of different actions, but it's very clear to ask for that at the end of it. It's not just about telling them about your company. Kind of next topic I wanted to bring up is this database marketing. And database marketing is used quite a bit.
AJ, oh, sorry to interrupt before you go. It appears the chat feature isn't working today. So I guess what I'd like to do is, if someone has a question, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and just ask it now. I apologize. I'm trying to work on figuring that out, but I don't want to miss. I know someone had a question they had emailed me.
I see.
Yeah, AJ, that's me, Jerry Hampton. We're back on marketing platforms, and you mentioned a couple in there. Would you include Constant Contact in that, or no?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely one. Yes. And again, I think it's which one works for your business. Of course, that is widely used marketing platform.
Right. Yeah. I just want to make sure it was in there. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome. Okay, I didn't see anybody else, but I'm going to work on the chat feature here. So
yeah, no worries, no worries. And you know what? If you have time at the end, we can even take some more questions. So database marketing. Now it's true that it costs you 10 times more to bring in a new customer versus nurturing an existing customer to win a sale. And so this is kind of the thinking behind database marketing. So what's your database? Your database is all your customers, current customers, past customers, suppliers, referral partners, influencers, and maintaining this database. And most of you have databases, I know, but you know, the one key thing about a database that we see is the database is not refreshed on a regular basis, and they're not being engaged with enough. They're not being there's not a you know, back and forth engagement between you and the people in the database. So often what happens is you lose 2 to 3% monthly of the people in your database. So, and you said 2 to 3% loss, what they call leaky bucket syndrome, no big deal. But think about this, 2 to 3% a month. So let's say 3% a month will cause you within a year to lose 30% of your total contacts. So think about it. You start off with 1,000, you're going to end up with 700 at the end. That's not very effective. And you're spending a lot of money on creating content and sending it out. So be careful. You know who's in your database, and keep that as a live document. Sometimes customers are not in the market anymore. Sometimes timing isn't right. Sometimes people move on. All these aspects have to be considered when you manage a database. It's as much database management as it is anything else. So database marketing is based on reaching out to this existing database that you have. It's the opposite of kind of what I had described before, which was a cold campaign. These are people who have some connection with you, right? And so again, the same basics apply. One message, it doesn't apply to everyone. So it's important to have a very targeted message. I'll give you a manufacturing example here. Many manufacturers have supply products to both R&D size customers, and also who may be a university, that may be the government, it may be the military, or they provide to high volume customers, other companies, big buyers are buying from. If you send the same message to both of them, it's not going to land on one at least. So for example, what goes for an R&D customer might be a lot more technical, might be a lot more feature oriented. What may go for a high volume customer might have to do with what buyers look for, cost, quality, delivery. So you kind of have to make sure that you have your segments identified correctly, and also make sure that your segments might evolve over time, so they're updated. The second, and Bill will touch a little bit more into this, is create a relevant message to that segment. And you know, what are their pain points today? What are they looking for? And deliver the messages that are that apply to them. And the third, which there is no magic formula. My example with the email chain was you can't just send something out and expect it to stick because it worked for someone else. Same time, when your first campaign will likely not be your most effective campaign. It's about putting it out there, watching engagement, looking at analytics, and Bill will talk about that as well, and actually improving. That's how this works, is a constant iterative cycle of tracking, analyzing, and improving. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Bill. Oh, sorry, I have one more. I wanted to give an example, actually. This is an example of industrial supplier that after COVID was looking to reach out to their customers. And you know, they hadn't had a newsletter before, so they engaged us in putting together a newsletter. And you know, there's a lot of information on here, but I'll give you just the one highlight of this newsletter. So think after in the June, July timeframe, people really wanted to have human interaction. And in the past, most of the communication that Groom had was mostly with showing equipment and showing their features, cleaning capabilities and such. But you know, this actually has people in it. And that created a lot of engagement. It drove a lot of the current customers to reach back out to them asking them questions about what was about what they were doing and how they could support them. So always think about where the customers as opposed to just talking about yourself. So now on that note, I will now turn it over to Bill to talk a little bit about content and messaging.
Actually,
Thanks.
this is Bill Weiger. I got a really quick question.
Sure.
What role do you see video playing in this new world? You know, short clips, these different type of services that are coming out for short clip video.
Yeah, very good question. Actually, quite a bit. And Bill will actually talk a little bit about this as well. But video is landing really well. Really, I mean, personally, I think there is a lot of opportunity for to be creative here in ways that haven't been before. So this is about separating yourself from everyone else, creating content that's relevant, not video for the sake of it, but something that adds value to them. So, but yeah, Bill will touch a little bit more about them. I believe you even have an example of a good video that landed well.
Bill, they're going to think you were a plant, Bill, because we got a video in like 3 slides that we're going to show.
Yeah, I got the gift card you sent me. Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate you setting us up there. There was a nice softball. Huge. Yeah, to AJ's point, it's a huge part of where things are going. And where the world thought you had to be super polished and super clean, you don't anymore. People are expecting a little bit more authentic and easier. And we're going to show you an example of that in 2 seconds here. So we'll get to it. Any other questions while we're paused?
Bill, it's Rich. Just a question to think about as you go a little bit forward here with videos. If you could just ask or tell us what you think the right length of a video should be. We've done some videos ourselves for the MRC and others around the state with our partners. And every time we get into one of these videos, we get into a big debate discussion about how long the video should be. You know, and some people think 2 minutes or less, or forget it, you're going to lose attention. Other people think 2 to 3 minutes is okay. I've heard people even say 4 minutes is the limit. Do you guys have any guidelines or thoughts on that?
That's a great question. And I think it's evolving. It depends on what the content's for and what you're trying to accomplish. If it's a grab attention and just a simple message, 2 to 3 minutes is about the rule of thumb we use. If you're talking about a webinar or a sit down like this, we say 30 to 45 minutes is the max. Everyone's attention span goes away after that period of time. And if you've got a nice message that you can put together, TED Talks has really pushed everyone to that 20-minute, I think it's 18 minutes, that 18-minute time frame. So if you've got a message that's concise and you can put it in front of a group and you want to get something across that you want to talk to people individually, one-on-one, 18 minutes is about where you're at. So I think you guys were pretty spot on, Rich. Okay. We'll get rolling. This is the last section. If you remember, we talked digital marketing and we've talked lead generation. And this is content and messaging. And content and messaging is really evolving, to Bill's point. Videos in here, and there's been a lot of people looking to build and create content, because content is going to be very important to the message that you're getting and giving out there. You can see at the top there that 2 to 3 times more B2B customers are seeing digital interactions. We've talked about that. We've seen that. We're seeing that in manufacturing. The bottom number, you're going to see we've seen a huge movement of event dollars going to digital marketing over the past year. And we're going to see that, I think, continued in through at least June or July of next year. We're seeing most of our customers shift those dollars over and using that. But it's worthless unless you get the right content and you're really providing customers with the right approach. So we're going to jump to the next page, and then I'll give you our 3 keys. So you want to review your content and your messaging. And if you haven't done this in a while, ask your customers, what do they want? What are they looking for? And if you can, find somebody that can do that for you, because oftentimes you do a bit of a voice of the customer. You do it yourself. Your customers they like you. They don't want to tell you bad news, or they don't want to tell you you're off base. They may be less likely to tell you the truth. But if you haven't asked your customers in that question in a while, ask them. It's amazing what they'll tell you back. When we go in and do assessments with new customers, we always talk to 5 to 10 customers and clients, and both lost clients and existing clients, and ask them what they want and what's missing. So you can do that and check yourself. Check data, and we'll show you examples here of Google Analytics, what's important and why it's important. What are people reading? What are they getting into? Is it actually helping you move the needle, or is it just something you like doing or your team likes doing? So make sure you do that and you look at that. My last point here on number one is, do you have partner opportunities? And we're seeing these really skyrocket. COVID has really changed some of the trade publications and the manufacturing world especially. User groups, trade groups, they are very important, and they're becoming more important. They're looking to partner with folks like you guys that they can then build webinars and content and create stuff that can work together. You may have even, we've got a client of ours who just did a webinar that had about a month ago. They had a tremendous turnout, and they did it with a tangent company. They do cleaning. They did it with a safety person, and they talked about doing cleaning in a safe manner. It sounds like a very, mundane topic, but they did it in a fantastic job. They had 200 people on the call, and out of those 200, they ended up with new business opportunities with 30 of them, which is tremendous. So take a look at if you have any opportunities to talk to people. Measure and improve, we talk about that. Google Analytics. If you guys haven't signed up for Google Analytics, I would do it. You don't need to be an expert. I'll show you what it looks like. It's great if you've got some help and you've got somebody that can take you through what you're actually looking at. But you can measure and improve by just looking at the basics of Google Analytics and what you've got going on. New opportunities, new additions to product lines, always important. I know we're talking sales and marketing, but if there's new ways to put together your products or your service offerings and bring that to market, those things are going really well right now. People are looking for new ways to solve their problems. Communicate that, put that out in front, and you'll see that you'll have a tremendous response from your clients and prospects that are out there. And then last but not least, you've heard us say it throughout, you want to add value. People want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. In 2008, 2009, we saw a shift in sales and marketing from consultative marketing and sales to more of a challenge or a challenger type, where you've got to bring value to your customer base, and they expect you to bring value. They expect you to solve problems. They expect you to know your industry and how your products and services provide solutions. You want to show them that you have that, and you want to do that in webinars or videos or other places, whatever you can. It's important to them, and it's going to be important to you. Here's a quick slide on Google Analytics. So you can see it doesn't take a rocket scientist. It looks really crazy, but this is our website. You can see we're trending in the right direction. You can see page views are up. Over on the left, I'll draw your attention to what are people engaging with. And you can see that people are engaging with our company team. They want to know who the team is. They want to see who's there, but they also want to see case studies. They really want to see how other clients are working with us, how we've solved problems. And that goes back to what I talked about earlier, which is adding value and making sure you add value to the whole case there.
Bill, our
Yes.
chat is working now, and I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you explain scale your messages up and down?
Yeah, so we look to, as messaging is working in certain areas, we will scale that message across other platforms. So if we found a message is working in email marketing, we'll take that email marketing and scale that over to social media and other places. So we look at the analytics, we look at what people are engaging with, and we scale the message up to other platforms. And then if we find that a certain vein is working, we'll continue to move in that direction. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep, thank you.
Sure. Okay, you want to show the next slide? Here's an example. AJ mentioned this one. This is a client of ours that does nuclear power plant parts. They manufacture some, they distribute some. They came to us and they were struggling getting in front of their clientele. And as AJ mentioned, they wanted just to share with their clientele how to utilize them and work with them better in a very, and I know that sounds salesy, but they did it in a very non-sales way. They wanted to show how it worked and how the whole thing pulled together. So upper left-hand corner is the webinar invite, very simple, very easy. The bottom left is a one-pager we put together for their team. On the right-hand side is the slide, example of the slides, and you can see Ty in the corner there. He does a fantastic job of presenting. A day and a half after the webinar was done, they had over 100 attendees. They had 30 questions at the end of the webinar, and they engaged with clients, and they did, like within the first 48 hours, $1.5 million in new business with new clients. And this is not a huge company. This is $30-40 million company. Okay, you want to do the next one?
Oh, there we go. Video. Someone asked for
Okay,
video.
this is the video. So we talked about video, and we're going to show you a quick video from one of our clients in Plymouth Meeting.
Oh, there we go. Let me click.
Michael Riley here, president of Riley Sales, and we are riled up about the trades. We have heard you, our customers, and we know firsthand there's not enough young people coming into our industry. So we have been working with local technical schools around all our locations to get co-op programs to bring young men and women into the trades to work with our customers like you. We'll have more information coming in 2020, but look for us to be able to help you get the job done right with young people who want to come into our industry. Thank you.
So you can see, and thank you, Bill, for setting us up. You can see that that video was done on an iPhone. It was done in a very simple manner. It was scripted. He knew what he was going to say. He got to the point really quickly, and he did it in a minute and a half. It's you can immediately see if you're on the other end of that, and he's in the HVAC manufacturing, HVAC distribution business. If you're a vendor of his or a client of his, he understands your problem. He knows what it is, and he's looking to make things better for you. Whether he can in all manners, not sure, but he can provide you a tremendous amount of help, and he's trying to help you guys out at the other end. So it's a really well put together, quick video that total production time, I think, was probably 15 minutes. And total cost to him was probably about $4. And that's probably $4 too high because he already had his iPhone. But we did process it for him. So key takeaways from today: lead gen is obviously critical. Be careful about where you spend money, but there are opportunities to do some tremendous lead gen in the email using the email platforms and other marketing platforms that are out there. And it's a real opportunity to take market share more than you probably have had in the past. Database marketing, as AJ said, don't overlook your current customer base. Make sure you're talking to them. You want to protect the ones you have. And you want to make sure you're messaging to them and talking to them. But you also want to use that opportunity as you grow your database and continue to grow your databases to segment that out and to drive business in different areas where you can. And then finally, content and messaging. Make sure you have good messaging that's around value and creating value for your clients in the end game. So with that said, I think we are at the end, and we'll open it up to any further Q&A, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Great,
What do
thank
you
you.
think-
So feel free to post your questions in chat, everyone.
All right, I got fat digit fingers. I'm not typing. So this is Bill again. So what kind of budget are we looking at with something like what you kind of covered today, from a little start to finish, just to say if we were to hire you guys or somebody else, what would be a reasonable marketing budget to put for, number one, the initial piece, because I'm sure there's a little more upfront, and then what would the ongoing be? I see AJ writing my name down now, but the there's a good sales guy there. But just to, on an ongoing monthly, what would something like that look like?
Yeah, and that's really where there's been quite a bit of fallacy. You don't need to spend lots and lots of money to do that. I would say in most of our manufacturing engagements, there's a bit of an assessment up front. We have a strategy session, an assessment. Most companies work the same way. You're going to look at probably that first month and again, it goes up and down depending on how sophisticated you are or how sophisticated you want to get. Anywhere from, I'd say, 5 to 10,000 that first month in assessment time and plan build and creation and decide how we're going to move forward. And then, the first 90 days usually runs a little bit more expensive because there's some content build and some creation. That usually, again, depends on the size of the company and the goals and what you're trying to do. Anywhere from a low of 4,000 to a high of 6,000 or 7,000 is typical. And then it usually, after the first 90, 120 days, it starts to get into a regular rhythm. And that's where you're checking your marketing tools, you're making sure everything's there. It's fewer hours, it's fewer amount of time. You might be building some content and doing some other stuff, but usually it settles in between, I'd say between 3,000 and 6,000, depending on the client. Hopefully that answered your question, Bill.
It did, thanks.
Yeah, sure. And that's pretty typical of the industry. You should be able to find, there's lots of marketing and sales groups out there, and they do really good work in those ranges. You can hire agencies to do higher end stuff. I think you get diminishing returns. You spend a ton more than that for most of our clients. And we work with most clients in that small to mid-sized range, 5-10 million to 150-200 million.
Hey, Bill, it's Bud Miller. Just had a quick question for you in regard to the email side and being blocked by customers or potential customers if you have an email campaign. Is any thoughts around that? Or is there a way to know if you're blocked, for example?
Yeah, there's
AJ is our expert
sites
there.
you can test. You can test the deliverability of your email. There's a lot of free sites. I'll give you a site called mxtools.com. That one will give you, immediately tell you if you're on a blacklist. I think that's important to know. But there's actually quite a bit of science to it to not be blocked. Customized, tailored messages, allowing your clients the way to unsubscribe easily, so you're not annoying. But really, I think if you can design your campaign around what they're really looking for, then you're not being annoying. Now, if you're sending, like if Bill and I are sending sales materials to someone who is in supply chain or operations, that might be annoying. But if it's going to someone who's like specifically looking for what we're doing, or maybe if you know that they're using a certain tool and how they can use it better, that would be more applicable. So there's an entire science to this, and it's an evolving standard as well. But yeah, that's certainly a risk that you run when you run these campaigns. We also recommend that you don't use your company domain when you're doing this. So you go off on actually purchase a new domain. So in case it does happen, that you're protected, that your normal company emails won't be compromised, and you'll still be able to send emails out.
Yeah. So, but if you have a .com email domain, maybe you buy the same name at .co or .net or something like that. It's a good way to protect yourself. It's an extra layer of protection. But for the most part, if you're not abusing the system, and you usually don't have a problem. We with our platforms, we target no more than 150 emails going out a day, and that keeps a pretty good flow of
absolutely
leads coming in. Any more than that, we're still seeing 2 to 4% come back as warm leads. So any more than that, you get a little overwhelmed with lead flow.
Thank you.
Sure.
AJ, Bill, we have a question through chat. How do you deploy thought leadership as part of your overall digital content strategy? And any thoughts around successful, if it can be, to customer conversation?
Wow, that's a very relevant question. I think thought leadership is like what I think what Bill was also alluding to in the challenger method, because it's not about showing how you're necessarily just attacking your competitors or talking about price, but really explain to customers why you really know your stuff. And a lot of it for us has been like knowing your industry really well. And so our clients who show that they are the supplier who is most knowledgeable. I'll give you an example. I mean, I've experienced in the auto industry where we're faced with a lot of regulations, and so I had salespeople who were educating others about upcoming regulations that would apply to them. Now, that wasn't their role, but they took on that role. Hey, here's the next thing that's coming up from an emission regulation perspective. Engaged a lot more clients that way, so that would be like one example of your thought leadership, but it's really pivotal to any content strategy. Bill, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you're spot on there, AJ. It's thought leadership kind of got overused over the last couple of years, but thought leadership and adding value is really critical to your success. And it's not, thought leadership got lost in these long form white papers and all this. That's not what it's about. It's really about adding, again, showing clients that you understand the issues and problems they have, and that you're out in front looking to solve those and giving examples. One of the big problems we always have when we're talking to clients is they're worried about sharing the secret sauce. But I'm going to tell you, you almost can't share too much secret sauce unless you give them the blueprints to a product or a solution. It's the more you share, we find the more you get back, and the more people gravitate towards you. They all may try to do it themselves, or they might try to, a solution around it, but 9 times out of 10, they're coming back to you and they're thanking you for providing that information for them.
Thanks. There's another question. What social media platforms do you recommend for advertising, and are they worth the investment? I know, especially if manufacturers are selling B2B, where are their customers? Are they on the social media platforms? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess great question. And, specifically on social media platforms, if you say today, good return on investment on Facebook ads and Instagram, but that really applies more to B2C versus B2B businesses. Still see a lot of engagement on LinkedIn and Twitter when it comes to B2B businesses. But I think it goes back to the basics of delivering content. I mean, we find things where, how-to videos actually end up in drawing a lot more engagement than before, because you're providing something. The videos that we talked about when displayed on social media also build engagement. So not so much the platform, although I do think that there are some platforms that your customers will be at, which would be advantageous for you to be at too. So I mean, like Instagram may not be that popular among your customers. Don't spend money on Instagram. But then it's about understanding your industry.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions? There's nothing else in chat. Is there someone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question verbally?
Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate the time, and they were great questions. And if we can help you, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us as well.
Okay, I'm clapping for you. Usually this is the time we would clap when we did our webinar, Lunch and Learns in person. So great job, guys. And thank you everybody for spending time with us today. Check our website back. We're adding new webinars, new topics all the time. And we'll be sending you a recording, and it'll also have Bill and AJ's contact information if you have any further questions. But thank you for supporting us, and have a great day.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Bill. Thanks,
Thank
AJ.
you. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye.